DIY scratch art is such a satisfying craft to make. If you love learning about art, subscribe and support this public school teacher's side hustle. For this, I'm going to be using oil pastels. You can also do this with crayons, and I'm using the brand Pentel, and I'm using watercolor paper. Whatever paper you use, just make sure it's thick enough that it can be absorbed with acrylic paint, so a mixed media paper would work. I've even done this before with cardstock, and you can apply any color, design, and pattern that you would like. That's the fun with scratch art, is then when you put the black paint over it and you scratch it away, it reveals really colorful designs. So have fun with that part. Mix your colors, use whatever colors you would like, and you can apply it in a random pattern, or you can be really strategic with your colors. I'm doing kind of like a warm, cool fade, and I'm choosing colors that I can blend up into each other. And again, if you're doing crayons, that works as well, but there's something really nice about the thick quality of the oil pastels. I've heard you can do this with colored pencils. I've never tried it, but that might be a fun experiment to do as well. And I am ending with white because I know it's going to contrast the black paint very well. You are going to use black acrylic paint. You can use craft paint, just make sure it's acrylic, and then you're going to use equal parts dish soap. I added too much dish soap here, and you'll know if it's not, or if you've used too much, if when you apply it to your paper, it's gray and not opaque. So mix it together, and then you can do a test swatch on your paper to make sure it covers up all of the color that you added. Mix it well. So you can see when I put the paint over the oil pastels that it completely covers the surface. And if it doesn't, just go back and add a little bit more black acrylic paint to it. I don't measure, but you could if that's your personality. I'm going to take the paint and go one direction. I do always do 2 coats so that it's nice and opaque. So I'm going to brush over, and then when it dries, it is a little bit see-through, which is totally fine because I'm going to do a second coat. So now I'm going to go the opposite direction, and I'm going to do my vertical brush strokes to make sure it's nice, opaque, and ready for scratching. The dish soap is what has the acrylic paint. It removes it so you can really create beautiful carved designs, which really just brings me back to my elementary school classroom. Once it's totally dry, there's a number of tools that you can use. I have a shish kebab stick, a needle tool, a mechanical pencil, and one of these bamboo skewers that actually comes with a scratch art kit. So each one I messed around on the side to see what it would look like, and each one has a slightly different result. A mechanical pencil would not be my first choice, but I realize if you're doing this at home, you might not have access to a needle tool, or, this is DIY. So you didn't buy a scratch art kit, so you wouldn't have necessarily the little bamboo skewer. So the mechanical pencil actually works really well, and it's really fun to scratch and remove and play around with what stays black and play around with what is removed. The fun part too is that you aren't, even if you plan it carefully, you don't know exactly what colors pop up where, and so that's always a nice fun surprise. I'm going to create a butterfly pattern here. You could do any design that you would like. You can make it super complex, or you can make it very simple. And then I'm just going to play around here with the thickness of my wings. And one of the reasons I chose a butterfly design is there's so much opportunity for pattern and designs in the wing itself. So again, the mechanical pencil, the lead is not out. I'm just using the end of it as a scratching device. Heck, you could even use your fingernails if you wanted, although that would not, in my opinion, get great results because you can't control. So let's play around with some other options as far as what tools to use. And so this is a needle tool that you would use in ceramics. And I have a ton of these laying around because I'm an art teacher. You might not have access to these, and if you're doing this with small children, a needle tool probably isn't the best, but look how nice and fine the line is. So if you're doing this in an art classroom, or you just have access to this, that would be great. A toothpick would be good too. The only issue there is toothpicks are typically pretty short. And I'm not looking at a reference here. I'm just kind of scratching away. So I would make multiple pages of this so that you could really play and experiment and just play around with your line work. The temptation here is just to scratch everything away because the color underneath is so fun. It does have a really nice antique look, so even if you scratch it away, the black paint does remain. So it has this kind of like 90s, kind of like grungy vibe to it, which I think is really fun and very satisfying. Let's try out some of these bamboo skewers and make a pattern around the edge. This long skewer is something I buy also for my classroom. So I use this with when we work with clay for carving into it. So I have a ton of these. You can buy these at a grocery store. And I'm just alternating which tool I use to create a variety of line work here. And I'm just Not thinking too hard about it, but making a nice little zigzag pattern all the way around. Wouldn't it be fun to do this with metallic oil pastels or crayons? I feel like that would be a really cool way to make a nice drawing. This is such a fun, satisfying, and very inexpensive art material to create at home or in the classroom. Thank you so much for sticking around and making art with me. And if you're interested in more tutorials, check these out. Find my website, thatartteacher.com, for my full-length tutorials, lesson plans, and student examples. Find me on Instagram at thatartteacher_Machado and TikTok, where I post daily short-form content all about making art.